Tape identification. This is interviews for Fazo from the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences. Interview will commence in 5 seconds. At the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences, there is a fascinating display of mechanical music boxes, including 3 working penny-in-the-slot machines. With me to tell you about them is the Education Officer at the museum, Heleanor Feltham. Heleanor, how old are the machines you have on display?
They're all about 90 years old, 90 to 95. They were mostly made in the 1880s to about 1900.
At what year did the music boxes appear?
The first practical ones were introduced in Germany around 1885. They had cardboard discs, of course, but within a year or so, metal discs were soon introduced, and they were far more practical and immensely popular.
How did they work?
Well, they work like any music box. They have a comb, which is a series of graduated lengths of metal, each one of which makes a different sound, and something to start the combs vibrating. In this case, a big metal disc with punched-out tags. Each tag hits the right note and the music box plays. The more elaborate ones have drums, trumpets, and all kinds of beautiful additions like that to make a rather glorious sound.
Why were they so popular?
Well, by the time music boxes were invented, the old style of making your own music had virtually disappeared because people weren't working on farms in villages anymore. They were working in the cities. They worked very long hours. They had very little time for entertainment. And suddenly there was a cheap, popular way of listening to music, and people bought them literally in their thousands. You could get 12 records for the equivalent of 10 cents, which is pretty good going, and a whole music box for about $10 to $30.
Are there many music boxes around today?
Not very many. There's a vogue for the ordinary little wind-up ones, but the old disc ones and the earlier still the cylinder ones are in very short supply. And of course these days they're increasingly rare and valuable. We're very fortunate that ours still work.
Were these machines something of a breakthrough in their day?
Yes, they were, very much so. Before them, you had the disc music boxes, or the cylinder music boxes, which had hundreds, sometimes thousands of pins, each of which had to be set in by hand, which made them terribly expensive and very delicate. The disc music boxes were very cheap, mass-produced, and could be virtually indestructible. So they really were a breakthrough in pop music.
Why did they disappear?
Well, Edison invented the record player around about the same time the first music boxes were coming out, and by 1900 the proper gramophone was sufficiently advanced to put the music boxes right out of business. After all, you had a much more interesting range of sounds on a recording than you do with a little tinkly music box.
Could we go try the machines?
Sure, why not?
Right, let's go. Before we hear these machines, who used the machines?
Well, there are small home models, but the 3 we're going to listen to are the kind that were used in pubs, in restaurants, in Cole's Book Arcade. In other words, they were the old jukeboxes of the 1890s.
Shall we play one?
Sure. Put the penny in the slot.
That was the Fortuna Musical Box, was it?
Playing the pop song Rhoda and Her Pagoda.
Could we try the second one? This is the Stella Disc Musical Box, is it?
That's right, built in Switzerland in 1889. We just heard an 1890s disco melody, Happy Days in Dixie Two-Step.
This is a Polyphon Music Machine, is it?
That's what it is, and the pop you hear at the beginning of all of these is the coin going in as we push it down the hole.
And if you're at the museum and you'd like to hear these machines, what do you do?
Well, if you've got 2 cents with you, you can get a brass disc the size of a penny. We don't use real pennies anymore, too many people stole them, from any attendant on duty on the floor, and provided there isn't already somebody putting their pennies in, just come along and drop it in the slot.
Helena, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, Adrian. Oh, it's the front slot one.